recording. We're live or on reel. You may hear one of the five dogs go off in my house, and I apologize in advance. But welcome, Dan. Did I hear you say Kokol?
Coco, correct.
Fantastic. Dan Kokol, founder, CEO of Digit Software, and we will get into that in a second. I'm very excited to talk to you because I work with a lot of small brands and small manufacturers. As always, my co-host Sam Anderson. Good morning, Sam.
Good morning. How you
As
doing?
always, brought to you by copious amounts of coffee. I'm finally home, so if you can tell by the look on my face, I got sleep in my own bed last night. But shout out to our sponsors of, I'm going to go in reverse this time, Jay Williams and Freebird. Sam, do we have our obligatory Freebird can presentation?
I do.
Bam! Freebird. Jay just had his NASCAR debut the other day, so congratulations to you, Jay. Um, Myself and Alias Advising, Sam and Vargo with, yep, told you guys.
Sam, Alicia
Sam
Varga.
Anderson and Alicia Vargo with Bev Assets and Frontline.
And yeah, Frontline's not a sponsor. You can throw it out there.
Okay. And then Ryan Halliman and On the Rocks Advisors. So thank you, everybody. Clearly, I need to wake up a little bit more. So Dan, welcome. Why don't you kick us off? And we went through it a little bit before we got on, but just give us a little bit about who you are, what you do, how we got here.
Yeah, name is Dan Coco, co-founder and CEO of Digit. Thanks again for having me on the pod this morning. And I guess high level, spent the last 15 years in manufacturing in one capacity or another. So started my career as a consultant, traveled the country, worked with about 83 different companies in manufacturing and distribution, touched a lot of food and bev, CPG, automotive, kind of everything in between. The last couple years of my consulting journey, I wanted to be an operator of a company. So I was actually able to run a disc golf manufacturing injection molding business for a couple years. Scaled that up by 5X, had a great time there, some wonderful people. And that journey kind of exposed me to a lot of the systems that these companies were trying to use to run their operations. I wasn't happy with any of them. I have a nickname, Data Dan, that I'm sure we'll get to here in just a bit, where I was obsessed with trying to build the perfect system that would allow these companies to manage their supply chain. So started Digit after the consulting and running the disc golf company. Been doing that for about 4 years now. We have an amazing team and really just serving a bunch of small, mid-size, and large manufacturers across the world with our software.
Super cool. So, I have to call out. You mentioned before we got on that you enjoyed disc golf. I didn't realize you enjoyed it so much you owned a disc golf company.
Yes, it
That's
was. It's a
really
great.
interesting.
It's
You know, the disc golf. I mean, hold on a second. I was with my banker with my son. I'm gonna go off topic. I'm sorry.
Yep.
But my son just opened up a company called Regami, and Regami brings the virtual world to the real world. Maybe Regami needs to be a sponsor soon. Adam, we'll have to get him in to step up, or I'll be sponsoring because I opened up the bank account. Sorry, Matt. But anyway, the banker's about a little younger than me, a little older than you, but he starts to talk about disc golf, right? So him and Matt are going back and forth, and these frisbees are like they're
Yeah.
expensive. There's like bringing clubs out of your golf bag, right?
Yeah, yeah, they're high performance discs, so they're not the kind of like ultimate frisbee beach
Yeah.
discs that you may know from going to the beach with the family. Bunch of different types of discs: drivers, putters, mid range. They fly different. They've got a good weight to them. They look great, working in disc golf after I've been playing disc golf for a couple of years was just an amazing experience. So long story short, I had played disc golf for a year or two. Prodigy moved into the town I was at. So they had been around for about 8 years before I joined. So I do have some small ownership. The owners of the business have been involved since day one. But yeah, disc golf is amazing. Those who haven't played disc golf, get out and try it. It's a blast.
Well, there's promotional opportunities. Jay Williams, you could probably get on like some frisbees or something, right?
Yeah,
Right, right.
absolutely. Absolutely.
That's funny.
Sorry,
Yeah.
Jay.
Very cool. No, yeah. I mean, I'd be like if I was like, yeah, I do beverage because I love beverage, but also I have an owning stake in, Epiphone guitars, right? Like,
Yeah.
not
It's cool.
not something everybody gets to say, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, I'm sure that disc golf company could use Dan's services. And speaking of that, so many people, small businesses don't like. For instance, we're in QuickBooks, and I
Yep.
absolutely hate it. And then some of our distributors we work with are in QuickBooks, and
Yep.
it's amazing. They don't have, they like you were saying yesterday. They can't go buy like Microsoft Dynamics and SAP and all these
Yep.
like huge companies millions of dollars. So it sounds like you have a path for many of these companies.
That's correct. Yeah, and it's really, I was the user, I was the customer for a long time.
Yeah.
As a consultant, I was implementing a lot of these systems with great difficulty. They were prohibitive on a number of fronts, expensive, 3-year implementations, and the product still wasn't live. I saw people post implementation going back to Excel or QuickBooks Online or QuickBooks Desktop to still do the workflows. And on the consumer side of software, I saw a lot of these, the iPhone taking shape, people loving the software they were using on the consumer side, but still hating the software they used at work. So all of these factors were just like, look, like you can have a HubSpot or Salesforce to do your sales and marketing. You can have a QuickBooks Online, Desktop, Xero to do your finance. Nothing's really helping you do supply chain outside of all of these different tools or legacy systems, which all kind of stink in their own regard. So
Mhm.
it was kind of a perfect opportunity.
So do you
So
need like supply chain? Sorry, one more question.
go ahead.
Adam, do you need inventory to use ERP? Like I was talking to a friend of mine, and I'm like, well, I want to like build me like the showroom floor. Like people come and see
Yeah.
bev assets. He's like, you don't need ERP because
Yeah.
you don't have inventory. You're a you're a service.
Yeah.
Is that
Yeah.
true?
So something I would say yes and no. So something that's been really interesting about our industry is we love our 3-letter acronyms. So you'll hear ERP, MRP, IMS, WMS, QMS, MES. Like
This
it's
is all up Adam's
unbelievable.
alley, man. This is all
It's
Adam's alley.
unbelievable. So it's like inventory management system, manufacturing execution system, so it's just like I don't know if people were just bored and they're like, let's think of a new 3-letter acronym, but
Yeah.
they can mean different things to different people. Sometimes ERP means accounting and finance. Sometimes it means true operations and inventory. I think the big thing for us is you don't need ERP to manage inventory. You don't need inventory to need an ERP. I think
Right.
the companies who are dealing with physical goods and assets, which is most manufacturers and distributors, the difference between manufacturing and distribution being that manufacturers usually own their own production versus are doing more of a buy and sell,
Yeah.
is you still need to manage the inputs and outputs of your business, your customer lists, your orders, your fulfillment, your inventory. So it does tend to be a part of ERP most of the time.
It's
Inventory
funny.
does.
It's funny. Well, go ahead, Adam. I have some other questions, but go ahead.
Oh no, I said we're about to beat the living hell out of Dan question wise because you unknowingly stepped right the hell into my world, or mine into yours rather. So I'm just gonna get straight to it. So like my background, and I'll be abundantly brief here, is supply chain, production planning, operations, but as a hired gun, right?
Yep.
And so I've got where's my list? Oh, 1, 2, 3, 4.
He was doing like midnight work or something. I don't know. Like he was like working
The
around the
last
clock.
the last couple weeks were rough. I normally don't push it that hard anymore.
Yep.
20-year-old Adam did that shit.
Yep.
But the reason I ask is I probably have around 7 or so clients, and most of them either are producing or are looking to produce. And so like for somebody like me, even though I don't have like I'm not the owning brand, I don't have physical assets, I'm not the manufacturing facility, but as the service provider, is there still, I guess what I'm getting at is, would it make sense potentially for like me to use Digit on behalf of my brands and I can manage their production and do those things? Like, is it that tool as well?
Yeah, there's no question. And from a without nerding out too much, we
Mm-hmm.
built Digit very intentionally to do a number of things. One of them is, multi-entity. So essentially what that means is Adam, as a user, you could have Digit where you could have in the top left nav bar all of the brands that you're working with and access to all their data. So a lot of tools in our space don't have that out of the box day one.
Mm-hmm.
And then from there, now you're looking at some key high value activities that deal with information flow and
Mm-hmm.
planning. Let's say if we zone in on that, for example, where a lot of these companies either don't have the resources internally or sometimes they don't have the knowledge internally because they haven't been in some larger organizations that have big planning departments and all that. And so what you're able to do is say, look, we can do all of your planning. Planning is important because it's how many, what do we think our demand is going to be across our product lines? From that, how many materials do we need and at what time to actually then manufacture or fulfill that demand so that we can collect on that revenue, which is really important. And
Mm-hmm.
there are some higher level things that we could probably dive into later where if you do planning correctly, smaller businesses will receive a lot of benefits like working capital optimization, the fancy word for you might have too much cash tied up in inventory that you may not need, that you can
Mm-hmm.
start deploying into the sales and marketing part of your business to grow top line. But
Mm-hmm.
planning is really a tool, because planning can be complex, but tools can make it easy. And a lot of these small businesses don't have access to those tools that make it easy.
It's funny. I got a brand. I won't remain nameless, but he has 3,500 cases he has to move this year.
Yeah. And,
Right.
and even yeah, and even just walking on site at these places, like when I do site tours, I can tell already just by looking at inventory stacks and some questions I've asked around volume and customer count and revenue goals, if, maybe if they have some working capital tied up that they shouldn't.
Mm-hmm. So I'm gonna get. I promise I'll bring us back, or we can all bring us back. But I'm gonna get into Mordor. We can come back to the Shire. For Digit, is it because and you're absolutely speaking my language on having a drop down, just like I use, like, if you're familiar with Extensive, the WMS, right?
Yep. Yep.
For some of the 3PLs we work with, right? I have a single login. I have multiple brands. I can see all their inventories. I can see the warehouses they're at, right? It's fantastic.
Yep.
Um, kind of on the flip side, or a different angle from that, is I'm assuming Digit, based on what you've said and your experience, would also do like QuickBooks connections. It would have either API or EDI linking abilities for the folks that need that kind of service. All of those things, right?
Correct. Yep. Correct. So fully open API out of the box today. Yep. Connect with QuickBooks,
Cool.
Xero, desktop, the whole deal. Yep.
Okay. And so, and again, I'm jumping ahead, but I'll simplify it a little bit. And I saw it on your website, so I'm trying to tee you up. I talk to a lot of small brands. The brands I work with are not all, but mostly the smallest of the small, right? Like, I got a husband and wife that I was emailing last week that's looking to start a beverage. He's a chef. She works in media, right? Never done this before. So it's those people of the world who I love working with, and I love that I get to. Can they afford this? Can they, having never kind of done this dance before, what's the sort of learning curve going to look like? Can you walk us through that a little bit?
Yeah. Yeah. So affordability is something that we're very intentional with. And so our pricing is available on our website. So you can go and check that out. And the biggest thing that I noticed in my consulting career, which was so helpful, is, I had worked with the Volkswagens of the world, the Fortune 500 CPG companies, Icy Hot Goldbahn, like all the way down to the mom and pop shop who set up a Shopify store, had 3 products, and were fulfilling things out of their garage to USPS. So one thing that we wanted to make very accessible is, if you're a mom and pop shop, we believe you should have access to the core platform just like the big guys, because historically the big guys were the only ones who had access to this. I think, here's a data dance snippet for all of the, data loving nerds out there. When you look at the number of manufacturers and distributors in the US, it's about 1.1 million entities, 87% of which have between 0 and 40 employees, which we would classify kind of in that SMB space. So when you look at the fact that almost 9 out of 10 companies didn't have access to these tools, we really wanted to serve that 90% from day one. So a big part of that's affordability. Another part of that is adoption. Adoption comes from a number of things. The system has to be easy to use, it has to be pretty, and it has to work. And the biggest thing that we say all the time is it's got to be configurable by non-technical users, which simply means
He's talking
you
about
shouldn't.
me, Adam. He's talking
Yeah,
about
you shouldn't have to hire a NetSuite consultant and pay them $40,000 to come and allow you to run a report, kind of thing. And that's
Yeah.
big.
That's funny because when Breakthrough I worked for, we went through 2 implementations from. We went to Microsoft Dynamics was the first
Yep.
implementation, and from there they moved when they merged with Charmer. They went to SAP, and they
Yep.
had all these consultants running through the building, and then they had internal consultants doing stuff, and then they were leaning on people like me. From the commercial side to help implement it, and it was like
Yep.
trying to learn all the acronyms, all the different things you had to do, and it was just complicated.
Yeah. Yep. Exactly.
So
Way too complicated.
I gotta jump us in here. My LinkedIn comments finally updated, and Kogs, I'm sure, is chomping at the bit because we've been missing him. So good morning, Kogs. Good to see you, buddy. So a couple comments from Kogs on questions, or just comments in general. He said, "Sounds like you offer a product that eliminates the brain cramp surprises of QuickBooks, tax classifications, inventory tracking. It's too difficult to figure out. What about, what's it say? access to their data. How does Digit integrate store list, inventory depletions, call to reorder? Or and then Jeff said same with Salesforce. So how does Digit integrate with some of those types of things? I'm looking at the pricing model here. So if you want to talk specific service bucket to kind of tee up, hey, this is the one you're going to want. If you want that, please feel free.
Yeah. So the pricing thing I think is interesting in terms of there's several dozen ways to price a software product, and so we went through a number of iterations early on. And what we do with our pricing is we actually split integrations out from the core module itself. So meaning we want you to be able to figure out what tier best suits the needs of your business, and then tack on your integrations on top of that, so you can have your integrations regardless of the tier.
That work, or do you do that pre kind of process and intake?
Yeah, the vast majority of it, I would say 95% of it is at no cost, where the integrations, especially our native integrations, which we support within the app, essentially allow you to log into the system and you're essentially integrated. If you want to go over and above and do some advanced integrations, we do have some technical partners that we can send to the different customers to help do like pretty advanced stuff. That's built on our API, which, we have an open API built on GraphQL, which simply means anything a human can do, see, access, read, write, edit in the app, our API can do on the back end as well, which is a big deal. Meaning Salesforce, Power BI, Google Sheets. If you want to have a message sent to Slack every time a customer that starts with an F orders something on a Tuesday, you can do that with our API. So all of that is built in out of the box.
Now, I know this is not API, but I want to talk about AI, and we talked about it a little bit last night. Do you have like an AI agent integrated into the process? So someone like me arrives, right? So like on this app I'm on right now, I love it because I have an AI agent now to help me actually, we're done. It actually does all the work for me. I'm like, hey, go make this with captions, have Dan pop out on the screen. I literally can tell it what to do. I prompt it. Do you have prompting available within your technology?
Yeah, so we have very early versions, and we have an AI strategy that's split into a couple buckets. So at a high level, our primary AI thesis is that what foundational models are exceptionally good at today is sitting on top of your structured and unstructured data. So structured data being your sales orders, your production jobs, your shipments, like there's just a lot of good data there. Unstructured data being your meeting notes. I mean, Fireflies, like every app wants to take your notes, right? You hop in and there's all these note takers. That's incredibly important because you can run those transcripts into it as well. And what our primary job with AI today is to sit on top of that structured and unstructured data, display a scorecard to these companies, which I can get into the scorecard here in just a second, that gives them a view of all of their performance daily, weekly, monthly, and then uses AI to basically sit on top of that and be a built-in consultant to guide these companies how to unlock that potential that they haven't quite unlocked yet.
So it's like a thinking partner in real time.
Exactly.
Right? Aggregating that data constantly to say, hey, you missed this opportunity. That's what I love about the power of AI. Quite frankly.
That's right, because you can really split it into two buckets at a high level. So one bucket, think of AI as a guide or a coach. So when you actually, OpenAI actually published a paper where they break down the percent of use of how people are using ChatGPT. And the vast majority of that usage is learning, teaching, guidance, coaching. Think about when we interact with ChatGPT, it's asking a question, it's learning. That's what we're starting with the AI, is teaching these manufacturers and distributors how to see their business in a new way. And when I was consulting for all these companies, it's like, how do you get Dan to be in the AI? Oh, by the way, AI and these large language models are infinitely better as a consultant than I ever could be, because they've literally scoured the whole internet.
How do you eliminate the AI bias though? Because if you're constantly prompting it and stuff, it starts to give you what you're telling it to give you, then it starts to become biased, right?
Yeah, there can be definitely like, don't blow smoke up my butt with the AI. So I think one, with the settings and the prompting, you can be very explicit in how you set it up and say, look, don't be a sycophant. Don't tell me what I want to hear. Be brutally honest. If I want to be a world-class food and beverage manufacturing company, tell me what I want to hear and don't want to hear, like no holds bar. And then when you do that, and you can even
what you said, by the way, people need to listen to what you said, because I know the fact it'll tell you what you wanted to hear.
It will. It will. But what's nice about like business operations is, to make your business better, there are just like very specific things that you can do. So like, you're going to need to go and grow sales. You're going to need to become better at marketing. You're going to need to improve production efficiency. Right. So there is a certain kind of binary piece to that versus oh, you're such a great leader, you're so good at your job, you're so there's less of a risk,
That's
still a
Adam
risk
doing
of
that with
that.
his AI. He tells his
Yeah,
AI.
exactly. Yeah, it's like tell me nice things. Yeah, yeah, exactly. And so that's where we see a lot of the value today, and that's where we're pushing. On the other side, this is where you start to get into the action piece. Can you go and do something for me? And so we start really from square number one, where when you go in and you're interacting with software, companies that have really complex bill of materials, let's say, might spend 20 minutes or 30 minutes building that out. Where for us, you should be able just to talk to Digit and it build it out for you. And so we have a beta version where you can actually do that, talk to the screen, and it can actually build out a bill of materials. And so creating records, sales orders, items, inventory, shipments, talking or typing to actually do those things versus filling out the forms is where our step one is. Step two is then tying those into some of the workflows. And then step three would be more of the agentic go and do something for me. And so what we have seen a lot of times is a lot of the larger enterprise companies get excited about agentic. Small and medium, they're kind of still a little cautionary about it. What value can we really do? And we've seen with a lot of our conversations, about 300 conversations in the last year, that the number one priority for them is AI is cool and I want to be partnered with a company who is AI focused and native. But we have such a whirlwind in our company. We need to stabilize that number one. We need to get everything on the system number two. And then we want to start having these base hits number three. And then some of these agentic things can come after.
Gotcha. So a couple people just to call out that joined us, Adam. We got Richard, how do you, Moniz, Richard, and then Kogan asked another question. Scorecard, that's a baseball term. I sort of see it now through the box score of ball game extrapolated to sales warehouse tracking. So I'm not sure what he's saying, but sounds
Yeah,
right.
I can provide some more color on the scorecard. I love the scorecard. So um, the consulting background and running a manufacturer myself, the single biggest change agent that I saw that unlocked the hidden potential in these companies was getting a scorecard in place that is a one-page overview of every metric in the business: sales, marketing, finance, supply chain, shipping, fulfillment, the whole deal, HR,
Yeah.
and then aligning the company to execute on that scorecard. And so a big challenge is, one, a lot of companies just don't know like why a scorecard's important, why alignment's important. They might hear that term and recognize, oh, that's interesting. But when I was running Prodigy, I built it with Google Sheets and Zapier early on because there wasn't really a good tool to do it. But I could see sales by channel, unit sales, dollar sales, how quickly we were shipping things out to customers, our on time and full rates, production metrics, the whole thing. And we had our daily and weekly meetings from that. And so over the course of 18 months, you see this really sharp improvement in most of the key measures throughout the organization because everybody is just feeding off of that scorecard. Meetings were structured after it, action items, initiatives, budgets, the whole thing. And so that's what we've put in Digit, where for the first time, a lot of our customers, Digit's providing inventory, like supply chain data, which is there's a ton of it. But because we integrate with accounting systems and CRMs, we can also pull in finance and sales data. And so the Digit home screen, you can now see that scorecard for the first time. And this is something we'll actually launch for the first time in the platform in the next 2 weeks.
Does this help you do KPIs?
Yes.
How?
So the scorecard is essentially a list of your KPIs. So think of a table, maybe there's 20 or 30 rows where each row is a KPI. Could be number of sales, could be OEE, could be on time and full, whatever you want it to be. And then we're calculating those on a daily, weekly, monthly, time-based cadence. The cool thing, again, bringing the AI back into it, the idea is that when you click on a row in the scorecard, you have a little side panel that shows on the side that then says, look, this metric, here's all the things as a company in your space you can do to actually move the needle for your organization. Would you like to actually start pursuing that?
And that data could probably be a predetermined, it could help you predetermine what's coming.
Exactly.
So if
Exactly.
my sales of my sales are starting to slow
Yep.
out in the field, I can go back and look at what I'm producing to slow that down. Or if I start to see sales increasing, I can increase my production to actually answer that need. But how would you know if you didn't have something like this?
Exactly. That's huge. And what you're talking about is millions of dollars in value for a lot of companies. Millions. I mean, it is such a big deal to have live data where like the goal is that by using the scorecard, these companies are going to have a better grip on their business at any point in their history. And they're going to also have a platform where it's literally like follow what these recommendations are, and you're going to see improvement across all these measures over time.
Does it feed like P&Ls and income statements and pro formas and all that? Is that all part of the whole box?
Not today. So the best use of Digit is to integrate with the accounting system, the general ledger, and we
Okay.
can bring all of that data in so you can still view it from within the platform.
Gotcha. So what separates you? I'm firing questions, Adam. Just come in, man.
Yeah,
I mean, a baseball pitcher. I warned Dan about this. I'm like a baseball
I'm ready.
pitcher. What separates you from the competition? There's a lot of people like you, I'm assuming. Like, how many companies in this space, and what makes you different? One, we love it because you're in the food and beverage space,
Yep.
which is great. But what separates you?
Yeah.
Like why Digit?
Yeah, I think there are the true answer. There are 7 things, 7 differentiators, and I actually have a 55-page memo on the 7 I can send to you if you're curious. But at a high level, simplified level, it's a number of things. So the first is, and kind of starting from the top is, you have to design a powerful system that is easy to use, and that is very hard to do. So ease of use means configurable by non-technical users. It means it has to look good. It has to be intuitive. You can't have 50 fields on a screen. You have to do things like what we call progressive disclosure, where you still have access to that, but only show it to users at the right time. And we are also kind of more generalist in nature, meaning there's a lot of software that might be food and bev focused or might be textile focused or something like that. And we see that those companies actually pigeonhole themselves in when they're building software. And for us, we see things like, okay, there's 6 types of manufacturing. You've got your batch production, which we see a ton of in food and bev. You've got your discrete, continuous, your project-based, your X, Y, and Z. If you can build your production module to have a job service any one of those out of the box, you're already light years ahead versus if you just do batch production and then you have to 2 years down the road try to add on discrete manufacturing on top of that. It really is difficult in the software space.
So this is Adam's language. Adam, I'm sure you're like, your mind's racing.
So and because we have such deep domain expertise, like I've consulted for all 18 sub verticals in manufacturing, and so we have such a wide breadth of, like, we've cut our teeth and did the 2-3 a.m. Red Bull, Monster, Little Caesars fueled consulting for so long. We've seen so much that when we go design sales orders and blanket POs and outsourcing, we're making sure that it fits all of the use cases when we're doing our product requirements and design. And so that's a big win. And then the third one rather is just getting it live really quickly. So we haven't built our ecosystem around implementation partners, long sales cycles of 6 months, where you can literally sign up for our product through the website and see if it works, versus a legacy ERP. You don't get access to the product until you've signed a multi-year contract.
So
and then
I can do a test drive. I can just test it out
right away. Yep.
Wow.
And what's cool, and we have a little bit more of the AI sprinkled in there as well, where you can go to the website, click try now. You can within 5 minutes be in an account. And when you go to sign up for the account, you can choose what industry are you in, or you can just
typing in and setting it up.
It's so cool. You can type in, if you don't select an industry, you can type in a prompt. Hey, I'm a custom beverage manufacturer based in South Carolina, and then you can hit sign in, and we'll spend about a minute and we'll populate your demo account with data specific to your industry.
Should we go live and have you show that, by the way?
Let's do it. Yeah, that would be great. That would be great.
Show your screen, and or Adam, you have to do it maybe because everybody gets confused.
Yeah, I'm happy to do it.
Given Dan's background, I'm assuming he's a little more savvy.
Yeah, this is always our test. Can people figure out how to share a screen here? So it's right by the leave button. It says share there.
Yep, we've got the share here, and we'll log in. I've got probably 100 Chrome tabs open, so this should be good. So we've got our website here, and so this is really, really great. So if we come in and we try for free, there's a few things that we'll show you. And let me actually log out. We've got a number of really, really happy customers who have loved this try for free thing.
Make it a beverage, though. Okay, make sure it's a
beverage.
Yep.
So we'll do food and beverage. So let's do a. I'll just do Dan plus. We'll do Bev assets. How about that? Yeah. All right, 1T, 2T. I had my coffee this morning, so we'll do.
Everybody, this is like you can go get a free deal right now.
That's right. Okay, so we'll do username and password. And so again, no credit card, no obligation. We want to make this very, very easy. It'll send me an email, so that'll come through in just a second, and we'll click OK. And then once that comes through, we'll walk through the AI onboarding setup, which is excellent. It takes about a minute to a minute and a half to populate that data. And I've got the sign up link here. Perfect.
While we're doing that, I want to ask real quick before I lose my opportunity while we're live. I've asked this question of a few different groups that I won't say are doing the same thing, but this is my distinguishing question that I want to ask. And based on the way you're talking, I assume the answer is yes, and you will very much get where this is coming from, because I told you I have a very light computer science background, right? One of the things that has frustrated me or been a kind of a non-starter in going from just a true Excel document to something like, you know, what you're offering here in other versions that other groups I've talked to is tiered or matrix pricing for raw materials, and how that not only communicates with the bill of materials, but then subsequently is displayed on the purchase order, right?
Yep.
So you're nodding along, and I'm going to say it anyway for the sake of full clarity. So, for example, juice. Juice is the biggest pain in my ass, right? Because you buy a single pail, it costs 5 pounds. You buy 6 pails, it costs 4 pounds. You buy a drum, right? And depending on how much you're producing and what overages you want, that amount you're purchasing is going to change every time. And I can write Excel, you know, snazzily enough, even as an amateur, to account for that, right? I've not yet come across a system that does that smoothly. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think so. I have a few clarifying questions in terms of, like, are you purchasing different units of measure from the vendors in these cases? So like pails, drums, and when you purchase them, are they always 40 pounds? Do they come in maybe over or under? Things like that. Like,
You guys are just geeking out. This is what Adam talks about, man. This is like his world. So this is
and while we talk on this, because this will take about a minute to load, so I'll go ahead and let this load while we talk about it. So just real quickly, so there's a number of different industries here, so you can just use a template right out of the box. So here, it looks like this has produced a artisanal hot sauce and condiment one here. We can do anything we want, but I'll go ahead and just click build demo. And so what we do is our AI goes now and is learning about the business. It's setting up. I think I've got it set to, like,
the AI agent, that young man on the right hand side. Is that who?
No, that is my co-founder Simon. So I've got two amazing co-founders, Simon and Elena. We have talked about, like, there's some really cool AI tools that can help walk through and get customers educated on this. And so here we just have a demo video that you can watch while you're waiting on the data to load, which is great.
I talked to Simon initially before I met you, Dan.
You did. That's correct. Yep, you did.
Where is he, man? He should be here.
He is in SoCal, so he's based in Orange County. Yep. So, but he's done amazing things for the business. My other co-founder, Elena, same thing, and we've got an amazing group of employees. And there's so much, even in Q1, Q2 this year, that we're adding to the product that we're thrilled about. So some other AI tools, again, while this loads, are, there's a tool that can actually take control of your cursor and can actually click around in the navigation for you. So you could say, how do I create a sales order? And it can actually take control of your mouse and go into Digit and create a sales order while you just kind of sit back and watch. So those are the kind of things that, we don't have that live yet, but that's how we're thinking about AI and the onboarding experience. So
you got people live in here, by the way. Robert's in there. He's like, he's doing it right now live.
I love it. Yeah. I love it. So yeah, anybody who's live, go try it out. Type in anything you want in the prompt. You can make it wacky, zany. You can make it right to your business. One of the updates we want to make to that as well is to put your website. And so eventually you can even just put your website. We can go look at the website. If you have a product catalog listed, we can even start building some dummy data so that you can just get familiar very, very quickly. So while that loads, Adam, on the use case you were talking about, I would love to get an example of, what are some of those things on the purchasing procurement side. We deal a lot of times with purchasing in different units of measure than you store, a bunch of different things like that, but would love some more details there.
Yeah. So I'm going to make it real simple for you. So I am incredibly adamant when I work with brands about everything I mean, 95+% of any materials you're buying being stored in pounds, right?
Yep.
So your unit of measure is always pounds. When it comes to raw materials, packaging isn't inches, that's different, right? But
Yep.
raw materials, juices, powders, all pounds, right? And again, I told you if then is how I think. And so the way I structure it when I build my Excel files is, if the pull or the demand from the BOM and the purchase volume that we're trying to make is X number of pounds, and you set a threshold. If it's between A and Y or A and B, then the price is C, right? If it's between C and D, the price is E, so on and so forth. Because I care, but I care less about whether it's in pails or drums or all those kinds of things, right?
Mm-hmm.
Don't get me wrong. In terms of communication with the vendor, I'll still layer in like another function to say, hey, if we're at the same thing, if we're at between this number and this number, it's pails. If we're between this number and this number, it's drums. And it's not perfect, but it works. But my biggest frustration is like right now, I'll use QuickBooks. I go into QuickBooks and I tell it, hey, my cost per pound on lime juice is, I'm making numbers up, $2, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But that's if I order a single pail of 50 pounds, right?
Yep.
Well, if I go in and order 500 pounds, it's still using $2, which, don't get me wrong, isn't worlds away from the right answer, but it might only be $1.40 a pound, right?
Yep.
And that's one more step I got to go in and fucking correct.
By the way,
right?
this doesn't give you the ability
Yep.
to collaborate. Your Excel spreadsheet and QuickBooks, you can't collaborate with your client. I'm assuming, Dan, your tool, we can actually have some collaboration back and forth with the client, which makes it easier because it sounds complicated what you're doing. First of all, no client can talk in if and then, by the way, because I don't. So I'm assuming 90% of the people know. Right?
Yeah, I love that. Exactly. And this is the kind of stuff that we see every day because we've been, Adam, in your shoes, and Sam, in your shoes. We've been the operators, we've been on the floor. We've got a core value called desk on the floor, meaning, as a software company, we don't want to sit behind our desk every day. I want to be in the world, on the shop floor, in the middle of all of this stuff. And I picked that up from my consulting days because I saw the best manufacturing leaders have their desk on the floor versus in an office across the street.
Yeah.
So I can even show how we handle some of that stuff too, because Adam, you said something really important. It's just one more thing I have to keep track of that should be automated by the system so that your capacity could be spent on things that are actually driving the business forward versus what we call schlep work. Like just people, I don't think realize the amount of schlep work. It is a crazy number. Like sometimes 70% of people's 40-hour work week, like crazy number they don't realize that they're losing in their organization. So we see
that is such a powerful message. By the way, I know you want to get to the demo, but it's such a powerful message because if you could free up that person's time to go towards revenue driving activities,
that's right.
I mean, that's going to pay for itself, right? At the end of the day.
And in large volumes, if they can spend time doing revenue generating activities, if they can spend time doing cost of goods sold reduction. So, for example, going back to my injection molding background, when I took over the disc golf company, I didn't know anything about injection molding, but I learned. And what was taking us around, we'll call it 60 seconds to make per unit, we actually figured out we were able to do in 45 seconds with no loss in quality. And that is such a major increase in throughput, reduction in cost of goods sold. That had a tremendous monetary impact on the bottom line to where we could hire multiple full-time employees with those savings that you can then and it's huge. And so the whole kind of thesis behind why Digit exists is because we believe deeply that the folks that are starting and running and working these companies are very bright, very hardworking, some of the hardest working people in the world that are running these companies. But even still, because there's so much schlep work and so much of the whirlwind and such lack of support from tooling and systems, that they're not able to reach the potential that their companies are. And so the thing that I would tell is imagine your company and then another version of your company in an alternate universe where it was doing everything. And the reality is that most companies today are just underperforming because they're stuck in that whirlwind. And so if we can eliminate that whirlwind, eliminate you from having to deal with the QuickBooks purchasing nonsense, if we can automatically remind your customers, hey, you are net 30 terms and that comes due in a week, so you're collecting, but you name it, there's hundreds of examples. That's how we get the prodigy stories to now be commonplace with every manufacturing company that we work with. So it's Yeah, so looking at the data here, so there's a few things that I want to highlight. So number one, we have a get started with Digit walkthrough. So we want to show you how to use. I'm going to exit out of this for now, but feel free to try it for yourself. Because again, we're not selling you implementation fees. There's no implementation fees for Digit. You shouldn't have to pay 40 grand for a team of 3 people to do this for you.
And that's real, right? They come
Yeah,
in like, yeah, just implement. This is going to
That's
be
very real.
$100,000 a
yeah.
month.
It's crazy, and it can be prohibitive, and it could drag out time and all this stuff. So here we have 5 items loaded, and so again, we were an artisanal hot sauce company. So look at the items it's created: Chipotle barbecue, 500 milliliters, and it even gets unit of measure right. Fresh peppers, ghost peppers, hot sauce, smoky
This just
spice
created
blend.
for me. Like I didn't even
It
have
created
to.
for you. AI created it for you. Correct.
Holy
Correct.
cow! So I could
Yep.
use you to launch my company.
Yeah, exactly. So it's amazing, and the purpose of this is, we used to log people into blank accounts, and when you log into a blank account, it's just like, I don't know what to do. I've got to go create my items. How do you create an item? And so we just do a lot of that for you, and a lot of other things that you can see too. So we create some just dummy customers and vendors. So we have a grocery vendor or customer, and we have farm, Ember and Vine Foods, and a packaging company. So again, the AI just creates this for you, so you can just see how could I actually go in and start doing different things. If we go into our inventory labels, you can see like we've got some inventory labels. We have, where did the vendors come from? What's the status? Just to, again, give a new user an idea of what they're actually able to do in the
So can
system.
Adam as a consultant use this as a consultant? Like in other words, he's talking like his 7 brands. He could actually start to gamify
Yeah.
right here.
Yeah, so that's exactly right. And so each of those brands would show up right here. And
Right.
so you would be able to go in and set this up for all of the brands, monitor them all. You could check in. We are working on what we call a meta view, meaning if you have, let's say you have 7 brands and you want to see a scorecard for all 7 of them, the meta view would allow you to see the scorecard for all 7, for example, which is
Ooh.
which is very, very exciting in a number of ways. So because sometimes we work with brands that have maybe done some acquisitions and they have 3 or 4 subsidiaries under them, and they want to see a group level summary of their operating data. So and we speak that language very, very
Spreadsheet is
well.
disappearing on Adam's laptop as we speak.
That's right.
I'm going to come in because I don't want to miss some of the comments and maybe grab a couple of them,
Yeah.
Adam, but I'll grab this one. Jim Harris, he's a software specialist, food and beverage guy. How do you benchmark the cost before you implement the new processes so you can improve the return?
It's a great question. So we have something that we're putting into the scorecard called before digit, after digit. So kind of like a BDAD. And so this comes from the consulting days. So like one of the things that I was obsessive over as a consultant
Yeah.
was is this like moving the needle. Because I worked with a lot of other consultants that, consulting has a certain reputation, things like, if you can't do it, you go to consulting, like these kind of things. And sometimes that's true. I worked with other consultants that were very, very good and some of the smartest people. And then I worked with others that charged billable hours, did PowerPoints, and essentially added no value to the business. And so I was very much in that first degree of like, I would do whatever it takes to move the needle. And so what I found doing in these projects is I would always do a current state analysis. It usually took a week or two, talk to people, get the current data, get the current metrics, put that onto a line graph, and then put a dotted line where x-axis is the dates, put a dotted line of like, when did we start this engagement? And for Digit's version, when did you start Digit? And then for every metric, OEE, throughput, scrap, yield loss, on time and full, average order value, whatever,
How quickly
are
does it
these
aggregate that data? Is it like in real time you can see, okay,
real time?
after
Yep.
the whole bit?
Real time. So and this comes with some of the reporting launch. So we don't have that graph live today, but by Q2 that graph will be live. But we have the ability to produce that graph in a Power BI because it's all in Digit now. So with our other customers, we'll use our API to actually integrate with a system where you can do that today.
Why
But
is it important to do that? Do customers ask for that? Like, okay, I've invested this money. Did it work or
Yeah.
not work? Is that why? Or
I think a few. It's rare for a customer to ask that. I would say it's probably 10% of the time or less that a customer will actually ask for that. And these typically are the more advanced. I've been in this space for a long time. I've maybe been burned by ERP in the past. That's typically when we hear those questions. The other 90%, the vast majority, we're kind of educating or teaching them about a scorecard, about KPIs, about why it's important to see those, intentionally manage them on a day in and day out basis. And what's cool is as soon as you say it, they pick it up immediately because it's something that maybe they've not been able to verbalize in time. But as soon as you explain the concept to them, they're like, "Oh my gosh, that's what I want in my business."
So with this, so this is literally developed my pepper sauces. I'm going to be making. By the way, I'm coming out with a hot sauce pepper company this next week. Alicia will appreciate that because
I love it.
The next shiny new toy.
I love it. Exactly right. So that's a big part of, when we go back to that differentiation question, Sam, that you asked, is the feature we just showed is called the AI Jump Right In. So we want you to get in the product as easily as possible. We want to prove its value before you actually sign a deal. Month to month pricing. We don't force you into multi-year contracts. You can do multi-year and get discounts if you'd like. But it's essentially flipping the software delivery model on its head and doing the opposite of what a lot of legacy ERPs have done.
And you literally can turn on like that. So Adam signs up, he's going tomorrow, and if he doesn't like it in 30 days, it's like, hey man, I don't want it.
And there's a lot of cool things. So we actually launched this 2 weeks ago. So, a big part of signing up is one thing. Then if you say, hey, Digit looks cool, I want to get my data in, which is the next step. Then what we have here is an automatic item and bill of material builder. And so these are really, really important because again, you could spend.
I can do this right now. I can take my materials and load them.
Yep, you can do it right now. And so what's cool about this is you can actually take your item import templates. So let's say we get started and you can just drop in an item file and you can just buy, again, as a non-technical user, here's your file columns. Let's just match it up to where I want. And let's click next. We have error validation. So if you have a duplicate item name or
Coach is already loading stuff in as we see.
Exactly. And you can hit submit and it loads it in right away.
So
the other thing
spreadsheet that he's talking about could just go in there.
Just plop it in, drag and drop it right in. Yep. Map the fields and load it in. And then once you have that, let's say, hey, I want to actually build out my bill of materials. So again, it's the same thing. And with each of these, we have little Google templates. So if you wanted to use our template, you could. If you want to use your own file, you could as well. And you can upload your bill of materials. And we have multi-level bombs. So you could have 20 levels deep if you wanted, 10 levels deep. Like we've seen some crazy stuff. And instead of you just building that out in a lot of systems, like it's such a pain, you can just flood it in here and it will build it out for you.
Well, so we're gonna run ourselves out of time, but I'm gonna say the obvious. I've already got a reminder set for myself, Dan, to reach out to you because you're not finished with me yet. I will be asking for a demo and figuring out how I can play around more because I think it sounds like a wonderful tool. A, for me, and B, for a lot of the brands I'm working with. But again, before we run ourselves over time, because I do have some family here. Sam, you want to ask our $1 million question?
Yeah, before I do that, I don't know if we covered this question from Cogs. Access to their data, question mark, the brands we work with, how does Digit integrate their data, store lists, inventory depletions, color reorder, etc.? I think you just
we talked on that. Right?
Yeah.
We talked on that.
We did? Okay, I missed that. Okay. Well, here's the question. I think I told you what the question was going to be. But this is the most important question that we can ask anybody that comes on here. You're an entrepreneur, you're a founder, what you've created is amazing. You've done it in a short period of time. You 5X'd a company, I heard that. You're involved in several things, so it sounds like you have a little bit of the entrepreneur, disease. You just keep on going, keep on developing, which is awesome. But what's the difference between success and failure?
I love this question. I think, every overnight success is 10 years in the making. And I think that quote mixed with another quote that I heard a while ago that was something of the magic you're looking for lies in the things that you've been avoiding have always stuck with me quite a bit. So all of the things that you hear about grit, putting in the work. All of those are very true. Go listen to Nick Saban, Kirk Cignetti, more topical, right, about how he talks about Indiana football. All of those things are true in table stakes. But I think it is, build something that, from a business side, build something that people want, do the work, do the hard thing, be the buffalo, which is, I'll do a quick tangent here where, my dad told me cows run away from a storm on the horizon, buffaloes run right into it. And the result is that cows are in the storm longer, but buffaloes cut through it quicker.
That's a LinkedIn post, by the way. You should do that today.
It's so good. Like that to me from a business side is big. And then on the life side, which I think is even more important, and we talked a little bit about this, Sam, before the call, is success in life is being present. It's living in the moment. It's easy, I think, especially, I'm prone to this of on the business side, chasing success and achievement and all of that. But the difference between success and failure on our life standpoint for me is being in the moment. When my 6-year-old, 4-year-old, 1-year-old say, "Hey, daddy, color with me," and I have a meeting to go to it saying, "I'm going to color with you." Like, let's be present, putting my wife first. That to me is the most important thing. And I think if you can unlock that and do that on the life side first and foremost, you'll be successful. And then in the business world, if you can do these things, be the buffalo, you can be successful.
I love that. I mean,
Mhm.
we're always chasing the next client or to put bucks in the bank, and then right
Yeah.
in front of me is my two grandkids, soon to be a third. So I got
Yeah.
a 5-year-old grandkid and a 3-year-old, and soon to be one expected a boy coming soon. And there, oftentimes I'll be working, I'll be on a call with someone like you, right?
Yeah.
And I'll be right in front of me, and or I'll grab them and put them in front of me, or you know what, I got to go. I got to take care of my grandkid. I don't. At
Yep.
this point, it's a great reminder to me personally. So
Yeah.
thanks for sharing that.
Yeah.
As we cycle through, I'll kind of just help us wrap here up a little bit. Like we like to go around. So first of all, Dan, is there anything that we missed, or you want to go back and talk about, or things that you would like to share with our audience today that you want to leave them with? Number one.
Yeah, I think we talked about a good scope. I'm a talker, so could probably talk for many more hours. But I think the thing with the audience is there's so much latent unlocked potential in pretty much every company I've ever been in. And in our heart is to unlock that potential to affect US GDP even. That's our kind of hairy, audacious goal internally. And so I think for them just saying, keep at it. You can solve the whirlwind. There's a lot of opportunity for every business, good times and bad, and we've seen that success repeated again and again. So that's what I would leave the audience.
Great. And then how do they find you? So can you give me the website?
Yep, it is www.digit-software.com, and you can find us online. You can Google us, search Digit ERP. We're on LinkedIn. We've just spun up a YouTube channel. We'll be doing. We have a social media manager, so we will have a TikTok. Never thought I would say that. That will be coming here in the next month or
Is
so.
that right? www.digit-software.com?
That's correct. Yep.
That's awesome. I'll keep on flashing out on the screen. And go back, you have a YouTube channel, you said?
We do. Yes. So we're spinning it up. We're actually going to be hiring a videographer, I think, here in the spring, summertime, producing a lot of content. So, I used to love the
Resumes in the
show.
mail, brother. I'm going to
That's
send
right.
it to you.
Bring him in. So, yeah, I love the show How It's Made as a kid. So we want to go on site and tell the stories of our customers out to the world.
That is amazing service. Well, thank you for that, and thank you for what's the difference between success and failure. And that was one of the best ones I've heard. Everyone's been good. Everybody's personal, right? So thanks for being
Yeah.
personal with us. Adam,
Sure.
anything from you that you want to share with everybody to help us wrap up today?
Yeah, I mean, I think I'll share a personal anecdote, but it relates to what we've talked about. Anybody who's known me for any length of time in this space knows that I've got a very near and dear to my heart spreadsheet that I have been tweaking and adjusting and crafting for
Sounds protective. You're being protective over your spreadsheet.
right for the better part of the last decade. It's true. I build it for brands and I let them see it, but I'm like, you're not allowed to touch it because if you break my toy, we're gonna have a problem, right? And I love it. I also know that it has faults that cannot be solved, right? It is an imperfect tool. And so conversations like this really excite me because it means that people far smarter than I have seen the forest for the trees and realized that a better solution needs to be built, and they have done so, which excites me greatly because it means that I can, to your point, focus on the things I want to spend more of my time doing, which is the cost analysis, the
Yeah.
cost savings, the proactive foresight, that kind of stuff. So I'm incredibly excited to talk to you more. Really enjoyed hearing about you. It's all kids and Excel coding competitions. This was super fun, and so I just appreciate that you made the time.
Likewise.
Yeah, thank you. And then I just want to call some of the people that were in the audience today that we'll connect you up with. Dan Cogs, Robert Kogan. Let's see here. We got Jeff, Jeff Luvaskowski, some Brant Artica. They have a podcast as well, so you probably want to go on that. It's called the Dogs.
Sure.
What's it called? The Dogs of what, Adam? You're off screen here, but sorry, Jeff.
Dogs of Society. It's the old Elton John lyrics. We're the dogs of society, Hal.
Yeah, so, and
Love it.
he's been an excellent part of ours. Richard, obviously, thanks for coming. Lisa Vargo, always, thank you for always joining us on Saturday mornings. We got to get you back on. And then let's see who else we get. Jim Harris joined us today. At least these are people that are coming in the chat. So a lot of good activity. So I appreciate everybody coming on Saturday, because I know weekends are precious to many, especially those with young kids, Dan, and young dogs, or old dogs, Adam. So, but I like my weekends too, must admit. But for me, just to have this conversation with the two of you this morning just lights up my day in a lot of ways. I do want to close down just for a special call out today. I got some sad news from a gentleman by the name of Brian Smith. I didn't know Brian well, but I met Brian over the course of a 10-year career. Spent time at Mark Anthony. His last job was with Probitus, and I saw a note, I think it was from Mike Bitar. I've known Mike a lot of years too. Mike has been in recruiting forever, but unfortunately Brian lost his life unexpectedly, and I just want to wish his family all the best, and Brian, you'll live in my memory. You're one of those people, when I lost my job a few years ago, and maybe you hear me from the heavens or wherever you're at in the universe, is you're one of the people that picked up the phone for me. And it meant a lot to me, and it was very special. So I just want to close down with that today and say rest in peace, brother. Rest in peace.
Cool.
Thank
Thank
you,
you, everybody. Thank you, Sam.
Thanks,
Have a good
everyone.
weekend, guys.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.